The events of this story take place a few years ago, maybe in 2013 or 2014. Honestly, I don't remember because the story is such a blur and I've eventually just blocked it out over the years. It was Christmas break and I was a freshman in college attending a university in New York City. With that being said, I was miles apart from my family who lived all the way in Bulgaria. For some of you who may not know where that is, Bulgaria is just a small country in Eastern Europe, right by Romania and Greece. Bulgaria's safety reputation and regulation isn't really that good, but this story actually contrasts that. I was at JFK Airport, maybe just a few days before Christmas Eve, because my initial plan was to surprise my family and friends in Bulgaria. The airport very obviously was packed and loaded with a lot of people, making my traveling experience way more complex and difficult. After hours of security, luggage weighing, and waiting for time to pass, I finally was at rest when the first plane to Istanbul from Manhattan was setting off. The first plane ride was around 8 hours, so I was prepared to be somewhat miserable and sore for the classic economic seating arrangement. I was sat next to two men, unfortunately. For the record, I'm a 5 feet, 110-something pound woman, which didn't make it any better either. These two men were probably well over a foot taller than me and could easily overpower me. The man on the right to me was relatively quiet, black hair, glasses, and low-key ripped. The guy on the left to me, however, freaked me out. He would occasionally mumble to himself quietly, and he would pick at his skin, sometimes even nudging his arm close to mine. I took note of the guy to the left of me and tried my best to have a decent 8-hour flight. The only thing keeping me productive was the fact that I'd be in my home country in less than 48 hours. But this productiveness got trimmed short when I'd be minding my business, maybe doing work or listening to music, and the guy left of me would be very bluntly staring at me. I tried shrugging it off. Maybe he has a disability that made him lack social cues. But as time went on, I started to doubt that. At some point during the flight, I was watching season 2 of American Horror Story, and the man began speaking to me, asking why I was watching a show that poorly represents the mentally ill, murderers, and whatnot. Very nervously and hastily, I asked him if he needed anything, since it's inappropriate to randomly disturb a stranger who's minding their own business. The season of American Horror Story I was watching was Asylum, which portrays cold-blooded murderers and insane people of a mental hospital. The guy looked me straight in the eye and said very candidly, "I just think it's fucked up how everyone thinks people who skin others alive are crazy. I mean, aren't we all like that?" I mentally began freaking out, asking myself who the hell was I sitting next to? And did anyone else hear that? I chuckled, brushing it off to seem unbothered. For the rest of the flight, I was scared shitless, and I contemplated asking for an open seat that may have been available by the back of the plane. But nonetheless, the flight came to an end and we arrived in Istanbul. I gathered my stuff as quickly as I could and escorted myself out of the plane as soon as possible. Now, I wish I could say the story ends there, but unfortunately it does not. The rest of my Christmas was fine, but what that man said still rung in my head like a bell. As January approached, I began packing up again to head back to New York. I was sorting out my tote bag and throwing out any old trash I may have stuffed in there from traveling, when I came across a disgusting note that must have been slipped in there when I was sleeping. It read the following: "I wish I could see what you look like under your skin. I really wish I took a picture of it as evidence, because only a month later into February, there was a news article that my younger sister sent to me that basically talked about the same exact man from my plane ride being sent to jail for multiple accounts of rape, attempted rape, kidnapping, attempted kidnapping, and first-degree murder in Istanbul." Reading that article made me sick to my stomach, and honestly, that whole experience drove me to just stay home for the holidays for a few years.